All right, hello everyone. Welcome to another Instagram photo critique. This is week 14, I believe, so welcome. While we're waiting just a minute for everyone to start joining in, as usual, I'm going to go ahead and prep all my windows, get all those together here, and just get organized. And from here on out, by the way, this will be the last Instagram photo critique that will be just kind of a random stream. I'm going to make them like a scheduled weekly time. So we'll do like probably middle of the week, like a Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern or something like that. So let me know in the comments, by the way, when you're watching the recording of this, where all you're watching from, and I'll also look at the analytics to see what states and countries you're watching from, and I'll try to pick a good like in between time so that I try to do it in the afternoon for some people, maybe it's at night for the others, but I don't like to do it where it's like in the middle of the night somewhere, because I know I have a lot of people from the UK, a lot of people from Brazil and India that watch my channel, so I don't want to, make it at an inconvenient time. So also, if you're watching the recording of this, in the description, as always, there will be a timestamp as to exactly where I start the critique. So you can go ahead and fast forward to that if you want to. So you don't have to just sit here and watch me wait for everybody to join in and just kind of, give the live stream a chance to get the comments going. So if you want to skip past all that boring stuff, just skip right past that, and there'll be a timestamp in the description, so that way you guys can hop ahead and see the critique. But right now, we're live, so I see some people joining in. If you guys want to hop into the comments and go ahead and let me know where you're watching from, that would be awesome. And then we'll get the critique started here in just a second. I'm just going to make sure I have everything in order, which I probably should start doing that before I start the stream, huh? It's probably a good idea. But since I do these streams kind of a random impromptu, I've not done that yet. All right. I think we're all ready. So let's go ahead and hop into the first photo here in Photoshop, the first photo to critique. Okay, so here we are on the first photo. Right away, let me get a closer look. So right away, this is cropped as kind of a panorama photo. I'm not sure if this was taken as a panorama, like stitched together, or if this is just cropped this way. So I really like the composition. The way it's laid out is cool with the smoke or whatever this is. I almost want to say it looks kind of crazy. It looks kind of like all this stuff over here is almost like a volcano erupting somewhere from down here, and it's just pushing all that smoke through the air. And what's cool about this, and I'll say that this photo wouldn't be as cool if the photographer didn't make the decision to let that sun and the sun star kind of shoot out through that smoke. That's what kind of really makes this an interesting composition for me. If it didn't have that, it would be just a little less interesting. So I like the thought here. The composition is good. I think it could have been a little bit better if maybe it would have been a wider shot and showed a little bit more of what's going on down here, maybe some more of the mountains. But who knows? Maybe it wasn't very interesting down there, so I'm not sure. It's always kind of hard to critique these too in-depth because I don't really know the situation. But I'll tell you that it's very cool. The only comment I'll make about the processing is I like the processing down here. I like contrasty and moody, but still a little bit of detail. I'm okay with the slight color punch in the smoke. I don't like from here to this right corner. I don't like any of this in here. It's very, very like ink colored blue, and I don't like that, especially when you mix it with this punchy orange. It almost feels kind of like an animated, cartoonish-esque type of look. Now again, if that's your style and you like this, then that's fine. I just think it's a little too like electric blue, and especially when you're mixing it with this orange color over here, it just kind of takes away from the coolness of that punchy orange black smoke. So let's just as an example, okay, let's just show you what that would look like if we just simply took that saturation down a little bit, okay, and maybe even just take the vibrance down, something like that, a little more normal. And then we'll invert that mask and just kind of paint that in. And I'm just doing this as an example so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So let's paint that electric blue sky away. Okay. All right, something like that. I'm just doing this with, I just basically desaturated this on a mask, on an adjustment layer, and just, there you go. So that, I think, is already just a lot better, not having to deal with that big, punchy, electric-y blue color right there in your face, just kind of taking all the attention away from the coolness that's going on over here. This is where all the action is at, and that's what I want to focus on. So, yeah, well done overall. I think it's actually a very cool image, a very cool moment in time for sure. Just watch your processing. I don't know if it was the vibrance slider got away from you or the saturation slider. It happens to all of us, I promise. But, yeah, I think it looks a lot better over here now with that like nice muted blue color. So there you go. That's all I have to say about that one. We'll go ahead and move to the next one. So here's the next one. Before I get into the critique, let me hop back over and just make sure the comments aren't doing anything. You guys have been pretty quiet lately, so we'll see if there's anything going on in the comments. Here we go. There's somebody here. It says, hi, I'm still in my office here in Brazil doing my stuff, but keeping an eye out for your live transmission, 4:25 p.m. here. Okay, so that's good to know, 4:25 p.m. in Brazil. So I'll try to keep that in mind when I'm doing these scheduled next week, because next week I'll send out an email to the newsletter list and Facebook, so just keep an eye out. I will post what time it's going to be, so that way you guys know exactly what time to start watching these weekly. Because whenever I do them random like this, sometimes I'll have 5 people watching and sometimes I'll have 80 people watching. I just never know. But if I schedule it, then it gives you guys a heads up. So, okay, let's go ahead and hop back into the Photoshop critique here. All right, or the Instagram critique. Sorry. Let's see. This one's tough because I like the color tones. I like all this over here. Okay, all of this. Yet again, the blue tones, like right here to the top right corner, is way too dark and inky, kind of a blue color. But I like the soft clouds over here and the soft orangey pink tones that all run through here. The issue I'm having is the composition is it's just a little weird to me. And it's not that it's bad or like wrong. I just think there's kind of a lot going on. So right away, the biggest leading line to this image is this big railing here, right? It just kind of takes you, but the issue is it takes you right off. It just, boom, it just shuts you off, and it just leads you to the edge of the photo before you ever get up here to the interest, and your eye just kind of goes away, and then you don't really know what else to do. So yeah, the biggest leading line, the most powerful compositional tool here is just kind of leading my eye off the edge of the photo. So I'm not a big fan of that. Let's see what else. There's also another kind of weird line here. So we have the main one here, okay? And then we have this one, this little waterway that leads you out to the main water bit here. But yet again, I don't really know what the, I guess the issue is I don't know what the main subject of interest is here, right? I don't know, is this the biggest interesting thing, the sun up here, the sunset? Or should I be looking at something out here? Because I don't really see anything interesting out here. It's just some sand and some grass. Are the mountains out here the subject? Is it this weird little water thing, this little pathway? I'm just not sure. So that's the biggest thing I would say about this one, is that the composition isn't very thought out to the viewer. I think it's a beautiful scene, no doubt, a beautiful sunset, some beautiful colors in there. I just think that you have all the ingredients. You have the color, you have some leading line elements, some water, some mountains in the distance. You have a lot of ingredients to make a cool photo. Maybe this just wasn't the place to stand on this bridge. Maybe you should have been maybe like on the water over here somewhere. Or maybe you should have been standing like, right here. I'm not sure. I'm just drawing random stick people so I can just show you just other places you could have stood, because maybe somewhere right here by the water, or if you were standing far right over here, then maybe you could have shot in this direction and you could have captured the sunset from kind of a different angle. I don't know. Again, I wasn't there. Maybe that was a restricted area. Who knows? I just think that the composition, had it been better, then I think the whole image would have been better, because there's a lot of things in here that can make a good image. I just don't think that it was put together in a correct composition. So, again, thank you so much for submitting this, and that's it's the biggest thing, just composition. And I say that more than anything on these photos, by the way. Composition is always like the biggest thing that people get wrong. So, yeah, I think that would have really changed the game for this photo. All right, let's move to the next one here. Let's zoom it back in. Okay, so this one's tough as well because there's kind of a lot going on. So the colors, I think, are just too saturated. That's my first thought, is that there's a little, I mean, the colors went a little overboard. Maybe it was this colorful in person, not sure. But if you really zoom in here, so let's zoom in over to this little house or building over here, you can really see those halos. See the little light halos? All on the edges of the building and the trees. That is typically evidence of way too much processing, too much contrast or clarity, something like that. It's just evidence of some carelessness with some processing. So that's one of the first things I noticed. Obviously, the color, like I said, is a little off to me. This whole bit in the sky is. I don't know what it is, if it's too pink or too... There's like almost like a magenta color cast in the sky. And then a big thing is this right here. Right here, if I'm circling it right now, there's a big like magenta splotch right in the center of the image. And I don't know if that was like a sun ray. I'm not really sure how it could have been because I don't really see the sun reflecting anywhere. Like directly into the lens. Maybe it was, not sure. Could have been a water smudge on the lens, but right there in the middle of that circle, there's a big pink smudge right in the center. So probably a rain droplet or something from the water down here, but that's, you maybe try to Photoshop that out in the future, or just don't post this image and share it as, because you know, when you share your images, you want to be proud of your work. So I would say just be careful and kind of try to up your standards a little bit, because this isn't something you want to be proud of and you want to share with people, all these little smudges and little, tiny mistakes that could have been avoided. So again, it's not a bad image. There's just some things in it that need improvement. I like the water a lot. I don't know if it's some kind of long exposure or if it was just a really still water over here, but all over here in the foreground, it's very still water. I like that. I like the way the water patterns work from this little tiny waterfall over here. They kind of travel in a nice little direction, and they all have these little textured little tendrils of water traveling. So I like that. That's actually pretty nice. This little bank right here is a little dark, or maybe even it's a little too dominant in the foreground. I would have maybe said to tilt the camera up a little more so that you can get a little more of the sky. And then the biggest thing is right in the middle, it looks like there's like a neighborhood or something right in the back of the middle of the horizon line area. And that's just what kind of ruins this for me, because if you look over here, okay, at these buildings, this could be something cool, maybe like an old historical building, and maybe that's just kind of cool. It should be there. If you look over here, there's some lamps. You can't really tell there's a house there, so that's actually, that's not bad. But then right here, you can tell there's modern day houses. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. That probably could have been avoided with just some simple clone stamping. And if you want to see like an example of that, it's literally as simple as grabbing the clone stamp tool, and you can probably just take some of these trees over here and just go to town. Start painting in some of those trees. I mean, it's really not that hard. Obviously, you'd want to be a little careful. I'm not being as careful as I could be, but you get the drift. It's not too hard to cover up some issues. So there you go. Just a very, very sloppy, quick little example there for you. You can get rid of those houses pretty easily. Just extend those, the trees. You can even take some samples from the sky and just keep painting more of the sky in if you want to. There's options everywhere. But there you go. There's just an example of how to get rid of those houses, and now you have more of a landscape scene instead of like architectural mixed with real estate mixed with human life. It's just a little weird. So overall, I like it. It's definitely eye-catching. The color, is very poppy, but I would have reined the color back just a little bit, and then think about what the subject matter is in your photo. What is the subject matter here? Is it the water? Is it the bank up here? Or sorry, let me switch back to my brush. Is it the bank right here in the foreground? Is it this, maybe this is a historical building that you were trying to capture? I'm just not really sure where to focus. That's the biggest issue. So there you go. That is the last photo to critique. I do have one more photo that is like my favorite. I always do like my 5-star favorite pick of the week. So we'll look at that in just a second here. Let me get back to my YouTube comments and I'll see what's going on, see if we have anything new. All right, let's see. Nope, nothing new, man. You guys are quiet today. It's funny. It seems like every time I do a live stream in the middle of the day, I get like one comment. I did a live stream last night, and I got like the comments started blowing up. So yeah, feel free to at least let me know where you guys are watching from. It's always fun for me to see that. So you don't have to be so quiet. I'm just here hanging out. All right, we'll go ahead and while you guys are getting over some of your social fears, we'll head back into Photoshop and I will show you guys the last photo, which I think is really, really cool. So here it is right here. I think this photo is just awesome. As a matter of fact, I wish it was my photo. I would have loved to have done a print series on this. It's just simple. This is a good composition. So if you take the other photos where I had issues with the composition, this is a good composition. The barn is dominant, but it's not covering the mountains. The mountains are in the background. I'm assuming this was shot with a telephoto lens. I can only assume that because the mountains look very close to the barn, which you can tell the lens kind of compressed that in. If you have a telephoto lens, it kind of brings things in the distance closer. So I'm assuming this was shot with some kind of telephoto lens, and it was just beautifully done. I mean, the first thing I thought of when I saw the barn here, okay, is one of my favorite movie series. I'm sure you've heard of the Back to the Future movies. And Back to the Future 3, where they go to the Wild West, that's what I thought of. This barn looks like the barn that Dr. Emmett Brown set up his little blacksmith shop in, and he keeps the DeLorean in there. So I just see this photo and I just want to walk in the barn right here so I can talk to Marty and Doc Brown. But there you go. Just the clouds, the texture in the clouds. Pay attention to the blue tones in the sky. Really pay attention to the blue color. That is the kind of blue that you want. It's soft, pastel kind of a blue. It's not overpowering. It's complementary. The clouds are dark and moody, but they're not too textury. They don't overpower the mountains. The mountains have little light pockets hitting them right here and right here. All these little light pockets creating all the dimension. I mean, it's just a very simple, well done shot. Because it's golden hour, or even it might even be just going into blue hour. I'm not sure, but no, it's got to be golden hour because the light of the mountains. But it's spitting that nice golden light on the grass here in the front. It's just a very well done image. Just beautiful. Job well done. I'll put all the names and link the Instagram accounts to the photographers that shot all these photos. And I'll put them in order, like photo number 1, 2, 3, and 4. So yeah, I love this one. Job well done on this one. Really, really good. And that will wrap up today's critique. So we'll go and hang out. I normally do a little Q&A at the end of every critique, but it seems like you guys are wanting to be pretty quiet today, so I might end the stream early. But let's see. Let's jump back into the comments and see what's going on. Here we go. Hello, Eric. Are you friends with Will Wood Redbeard? Hey, yeah, that's weird. Yeah, so I'm his brother. Joseph Wood is my best friend. So yeah, I do know him. I noticed you follow him on Instagram. I followed his AT through him a few years ago. Love his YouTube channel. Ha, that's funny. Yeah, so Redbeard's brother, Joseph Wood, is like my best friend. He's like my brother. We used to work together, and we literally had our first kids within a week of each other. So my daughter was born, and then a week later, his son was born. We hang out all the time, and me and Joseph are actually going to shoot up in the North Georgia mountains. We're trying to go next Wednesday. So, and I know he's trying to get his brother Redbeard to go on a hike with us so we can go shoot with him. But Redbeard moved down to Florida, I think. So, but yeah, that's funny. That's funny that you brought that up because yes, his brother Joseph Wood is my longtime best friend now. So there you go. So that's cool. Yeah, and yes, his YouTube channel is cool, and he's a lightweight hiker, and he's done That guy, he hikes all the time, everywhere. Every time I see a new Instagram post, it's just from like somewhere in the world, and it's always he's been. Yeah, I think he just most recently went to Iceland. But yeah, he's very, very cool guy, very cool family, the Wood family. All right. Cool. So do you, Mr. Greeley, do you live in Georgia by chance, or did you just kind of happen upon his Instagram or YouTube channel? Have you ever hiked the AT before? Because I've been to the beginning of the AT at Springer Mountain multiple times to take some photos, and you always meet some cool people there. All right, well, I'm going to hang out for like another 1 or 2 minutes in case you guys have some questions. And if not, if we're still going to keep being quiet and have a dead comment thread, then I'll go ahead and end it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. See, have you considered doing a photography meetup? I've noticed some YouTube in England doing them. Looks fun. Yes, I have. I have thought about doing a photography meetup. I'm trying to plan all the logistics for an actual workshop in the Great Smoky Mountains for this fall, possibly next spring, so that we can photograph the wildflowers. But yes, that is a good idea. See, I live in North Carolina, and we hike as a family. That's awesome. So North Carolina, you're not too far from me at all. Let's see, Steven says, I came in at the end. When will the video be up so I can watch it? Hey, Steven, as soon as I get off of this stream, YouTube starts processing the stream for playback. So as soon as I end it, I would imagine no more than 20 minutes or so, and YouTube will be able to process it and re-upload it for me. So you should be able to watch it pretty quick. And oh, by the way, I showed this on the stream last night. I finally got my Pro Media Gear 42 series tripod in. So let me show you that real quick. If I can fold it up. My 424L series. Look at the size of these legs. They're awesome. The girth on these legs is just awesome. This is easily the best tripod that I have ever owned. It's so stable. I've shot with it, and I went right back to a waterfall that I was having trouble with getting sharp shots because the rapids were just beating into my tripod before. I put the spikes out on the legs and just stuffed this sucker in the dirt, and it did not move an inch. I was so happy with this tripod. So yeah, these legs, the Pro Media Gear 424L, best tripod I've ever owned to date. And I'll continue to give you guys updates, like a 3-month, a 6-month, a 1-year kind of thing. So there you go. And then I'm using the BH55 head here. Really good head, really good set of legs. I don't think I'll ever have to buy another tripod. There's no reason to. So there you go. Really, really digging that. I'll do a review video on that pretty soon. Let's see. I tagged some photos. I'm not sure if you saw them. I will do my best, Steven. Whenever people specifically ask me to critique their photos, I will more than happy to do it. So if you wouldn't mind just emailing me or Facebook messaging the photos that you want me to critique, I'll be happy to do it. It's just hard to go and specifically pick out the photos because when you hashtag it, there's like 1,000 photos attached to that FME critique hashtag. And so it's just hard to kind of pick through every name in there. All I'm looking at is the photos. I'm not really looking at the person that's taking them. I'm just kind of searching through until I see one that needs work at first glance, and then I go ahead and pick that as a critique. But the actual hashtag that you use is the hashtag FME critique. So I'm sure you already knew that, but anyone watching, if you do want to submit a photo, you just post a photo on Instagram, you use the hashtag FME critique, and then it puts it in a pool of photos for me to choose from. But if you do, Steven, whenever I have people specifically ask me to critique their stuff, you're more than happy to go ahead and send that to me. Here, I'll put my email in the chat for you. There you go. Should be eric@findingmiddleearth.com. So just shoot a couple photos over there, and I'll make sure to add those on the very next critique that I do next week. All right. Well, that was a fun critique. Again, I always appreciate everyone sending in their photos. If you guys didn't send in your photos, I wouldn't have this weekly show. It wouldn't exist. So I appreciate that. It really takes a mature, humble person to be able to have their photos critiqued live in front of a social media audience. So really do appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, oh wait, before we end, just got another question. Are you a Game of Thrones fan? I've never seen the show, and a lot of people freak out when I say that. I'm a Lord of the Rings fan for sure, so people always tell me I'd be a Game of Thrones fan. But huge Lord of the Rings fan, huge Harry Potter fan, huge Back to the Future fan. Those are like my 3 series that I'm obsessed with. So anyway, there you go. Good question. Maybe I'll try it out one day. All right, well, I will see you guys in the next stream, and I hope everyone has a great rest of the week, I guess going into the weekend. So have a good weekend too. Take care, everyone.